So let us understand the implementation part of the producer consumer problem. That is very simple. Implementation part. Implementation of producer consumer problem. Okay, PC problem, it means producer and consumer problem. Okay, so first of all, for implementation of the producer and consumer problem, we have to make some consideration and we have to initialize few variables, okay, that we have to consider. Okay, the first one is the buffer. Okay, the buffer, because we have a buffer also between producer and consumer, which is of the fixed size. Okay, so buffer is the array of size n. Okay, array of size n. Okay, so n will be the size of the buffer, so whatever size will be given by the user or the system, that will be the size of the buffer. Okay, number two we have variable, that is in variable. Okay, so in is the variable which gives the index position for inserting data item by producer. Okay, so in is the variable which gives the index position for inserting the data item by the producer. So okay, third, we are having third variable, that is out. Okay, again out is the variable which gives the index. Again it is a variable which gives the index position for consuming, because here we have to remove the element. Okay, so for removing, inserting के removing data items by consumer. Okay, so these are the two variables which are going to hold the index position of the data item uh, produced produced by the producer and consumed by the consumer respectively. Okay, so these are the two variables we are going to use. Okay, now the fourth variable is count. Okay, so count is the variable which shows the number of elements, number of data items, which shows the number of items in buffer. Okay, so if the count is full, it means that the buffer is empty. If the count is equal to 0, then buffer is empty. Okay, the buffer is empty. Okay, then next we are having few variable which we are going to use in the code for producer and consumer as well. That is fifth is next item p. Okay, so this is a variable, okay, which store which stores the next data item produced by the producer. Okay, so the next item c is the variable which store next data item to be removed by the consumer. Okay, so the next is the variable which store next data item to be removed by consumer. Okay, then few initialization we have to do. Initializations. Okay, few initialization is the first of all we have to make an array of name buffer of size n of type integer. Okay, this is the first initialization, this is the first declaration. Then second, in variable has to be initialized with 0, then out variable has to be initialized with 0, and then count variable is to be initialized with the 0. Okay, so these four consideration we have to make. Okay, now we'll go to the actual coding part of the producer and consumer. Okay, Now we'll consider the code for the producer. So this is the code which I have written for the producer side. When the producer will produce the piece of data and will put into the buffer. Okay, so we have a solution that so this is the solution we have provided. Okay, so starting with the first case. So according to this code, we have initialized the thing, that is in variable, out variable, count variable, all are initialized with the 0, and the n equals to 10. We have considered that the size of the buffer, we have considered it as a 10. Okay, if n equals to 0, this is the first case. Then count, again count is 0. The next item p, for example, the next item we have to insert into the data item is aa. Okay, so here we want to, the producer want to produce the aa. Okay, so the first data item is aa. So the next item p is the variable which is going to hold this data, that is a, it want to insert inside the buffer. Okay, so now we'll check the condition. Count, we are having count 0, and the size of n, the n size is 10. Okay, so we'll check the condition. 0, count 0 is equal to, the size of n is 10, so 0 is equal to 10. Condition is false, it means condition is false. If the condition is false, it will go to the next one, that is buffer of 0. We have in 0, that is buffer of 0 is equal to next item p, and we have next item p is the aa, next item p is the aa, so next item p is a. It means that on the 0th buffer, that is on the 0th position, on the 0th position, on the first place, aa will be placed. Okay, so the producer has successfully inserted first item, first data item on the first place. Okay, on the first place. Okay, so next n equals to, that is n is 0 plus 1 module n is 10. Okay, though the output is obviously 1. Okay, 0 plus 1, 1 mod 10, obviously 1. So n is equal to 1. In initially the value of the in was 0. Now the value of in has been changed to 1. Okay, count equals to count plus 1. The initially the count was 0, now the 0 plus 1, it becomes 1. Okay, so the value of in and value of count has changed to 1 and 1 from 0 and 0. Okay, now we'll see the next condition. The value of in is 1, the count value is again 1. Okay, the next data item your producer wants to insert inside the buffer, consider it as the bb. Okay, the bb is the data item which producer want to insert on the first place. Okay, it means on the second position, that is bb. Okay, so the next data item is bb again. Okay, so now while count is equal to n, the count is 1, 1 is equal to 10. Again ये इसकी वैल्यू तो चेंज नहीं हुई है, again no, because the while condition is getting false, so it is again false. So the next one is buffer of the value of in is 1 equals to next item p, next item p is bb, next item p is bb. The next data item which we are going to insert inside the buffer is bb. Okay, so on first position, on the first index, we are going to insert, we are not going to insert, your producer is going to insert the bb. Okay, now moving ahead, the value of n is 1, 1 plus 1 mod 10, so 2 mod 10 becomes what? 2 mod 10 becomes 2. Okay, so the value of in becomes 2, and the count 1 plus 1, it becomes again 2. Okay, so the value of in and count is 2 and 2. It has changed from 1 and 1, now it has changed to 2 and 2. Okay, so keeping this thing in mind. Okay, the things will go on, the things will goes on, and the value will increase. Okay, the value will increase, it will goes like this. Okay, now just think about the situation, where count, where in and count are having where the value of in is 9, count is also 9. Okay, suppose so 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Okay, imagine, so 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So 9 boxes are filled. 1 2, for example, CC, then DD, then EE, then FF, then GG. So CC, DD, EE, FF, GG, HH, II. Okay, so 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Okay, so so the value of in is 9 and the count is 9. The next item we have to insert inside the buffer is TT. Okay, so we have checked the while condition. So 9 is equal to 10 again, which is again false. So the next item would be stored at the ninth position. It means 0 1 2 3 at the ninth position. So we have placed TT over here. Okay, and the 10 more 10 becomes 0. So the value of in becomes 0. Okay, so value of in becomes 0, and the value of count is 9 plus 1 is 10. Okay, so now you need to consider this step very carefully. Okay, so now the next step. Okay, the value of in is 0, the value of in is 0. Okay, value of in is 0. Okay, the count value is 10. Okay, the next item we want to insert is, for example, ZZ we want to insert. So count value is 10, so 10 is equal to 10. So 10 is equal to 10, condition is true. Okay, if condition is true, if condition is true, then what will happen? It will do nothing. What will do nothing. It will do nothing. It will do nothing. So that step is to be considered very important. And here also we are not going to do anything. Do nothing. Okay, and so on. So now the producer has identified that the buffer is full, and now we are not having any place to insert the data inside the buffer. Okay, thank you. Okay, so now consider this part, that is the consumer part. Okay, now it's a turn for the consumer to consume the data from the buffer. Okay, now imagine that all the field, that is all the indexes has been full now, which has been produced by the producer and put it inside the buffer. Okay, so it has all the information, all the data which has been placed inside the buffer. Say A, then B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I and J. Okay, so this is the index 0. Okay, so कंज्यूमर को सबसे पहले कौन सा एलिमेंट कंज्यूम करना है? ठीक है, तो सबसे पहले जो एलिमेंट कंज्यूम करना है वो कौन से वेरिएबल में आएगा? वो आएगा, उसका जो इंडेक्स रहेगा वो रहेगा आपका आउट वेरिएबल. ओके, सो द कंज्यूमर फर्स्ट विल point to the index 0. Okay, so that's why out is equal to 0. Now count the size of right now the count, how many elements are there in the buffer? How many elements are there in the buffer? That is 10. Okay, right now 10 elements are there in the buffer, so the count is 10. Okay, the count is 10. Now we'll check the condition. While count is equal to 0, count is 10, 10 is equal to 0, which is false, which is false. Then next instruction, next item C, which is to be consumed, next item C is equal to buffer of out. Now right now we are having out 0. Okay, so out of 0, that is it is pointing to the element A, which is present on the zeroth index. Okay, so A will be placed inside the next item C. Okay, so A will be placed inside the next item. So next item C is equal to what? A. Okay, so A will be placed inside the next item C नाम का variable. Okay, so your consumer has consumed the first element. Okay, now the next instruction, out equals to out plus 1. So out is 0, 0 plus 1, 0 plus 1 is 1, mod n is equal to 10. Okay, So n is the size of the buffer. So 0 plus 1, 1 mod 10 is nothing but 1. Okay, so out equals to 1. Count is 10, 10 minus 1, so this is not count plus 1. In the producer part we were having count equals to count plus 1, but in the consumer part we have to decrease the value. Okay, so it becomes 9. Okay, we'll see the second. Okay, so out equals to 1, count equals to 9. Okay, count equals to 9. So count 9 is equal to count 9 is equal to out. Okay, while count is equal to 0. Okay, so we are checking. So count is 9, 9 is equal to 0. Again this is false, again this is false. Okay, so we'll check the next condition. Next item C. So in the next item C, who will be the next item C? Your consumer has to consume. So it is um, buffer of out. So out is right now 1, so buffer of 1. So buffer of 1 means k b, so b element will be put inside the next item C. So the next item which is going to be consumed by the consumer is b. Okay, so b will be stored inside the next item C variable. Okay, so the variable, this is the variable name. Next item C we have considered in the earlier sessions. Okay, so next item C is the variable. इस वेरिएबल के अंदर बी स्टोर होगा, बिकॉज दिस द नेक्स्ट आइटम योर कंज्यूमर हैज़ टू कंज्यूम. तो योर कंज्यूमर ने आपका पॉइंट किया इसको और कंज्यूम किया. नाउ द नेक्स्ट इंस्ट्रक्शन out, the value of out is 1, 1 plus 1 mod 10. Okay, so 1 plus 1 2, 2 mod 10 is again 2. Okay, and 9 minus 1 is 8. Okay, the value we have got is out equals to 2 and count equals to 8. Okay, in the same way it will goes on, and the consumer will consume the data. Okay, so it will consume this data also, this data also, this data also, this data also, this one also, this one, and last this one. Okay, so we'll consider the case where out equals to 9. Okay, so this goes on, this goes on, and this goes on. Okay, so we'll consider the case where the out equals to 9, count equals to 1. Okay, so count, right now we are having count 1. Okay, count means number of items present in the buffer. Okay, so we have the last element present in the buffer right now. Okay, only j is present in the buffer, so we have count equals to 1. We'll check count 1. 1 is equal to 0, again false, again false. So the next item consumer has to consume. Next item C, the consumer has to consume is j. Okay, has to consume is j. Okay, and out equals to out plus 1. So value of out was 9 plus 1, 9 plus 1 mod 10 equals to 9, 9 plus 1 10, 10 mod 10, 10 mod 10 becomes 0. Okay, so the first time the value of out becomes 0 and count is 0, count is also 0. So 9 8 7 6 5 4 3 2 1 and last में 0. Okay, so it has now 0 value. So we have out equals to 0, count equals to 0. In the last case we'll consider this is 0 and this is 0. So count is 0, 0 is equal to 0. If the 0 is equal to 0, condition is condition is true, so we have to do nothing. We have to do nothing. Why we don't have to do anything? Cause there is no element present in the buffer right now. Okay, so if the condition is true, if the condition is true, if the condition is true, then we have to do nothing. We have to do nothing. We have to do nothing. Okay, so in this way we can implement the producer and consumer problem, and we can get the solution for the producer also and for the consumer also. Thank you so much.